What is going on, everyone? How many people we got in here so far? Let's get it off that and get it on this. To studio. Where are we at? I've got an idea. Let's go to my page, see how we're looking. Live. There and there. Let's go back one. Boop, boop, boop. Why does that say live with restream? That's not what it's supposed to say. Call that live with Briggs restream. I hate it when companies throw their brand in there, like they're desperate to throw their brand in there. Let me see what this says. Okay, we're public, we're live. All right. All right. Okay, so let's hope you could hear me. Can everyone hear me? I didn't bring my phone in here, so I'm doing this a la carte, and this thing is not showing me what I want to see. Oh, maybe that's why. All right, can everyone hear me okay? Everything fine? Office looks different. Why does the office look different? I've been doing it in here for a few months now. This is the basement or the bomb shelter we have at our house, and I'm in there. Yep. Office good. Love the door look. Oh, the door's pretty cool. Great. Yeah, I did a live stream on for the cruise channel the other day from a cruise ship, and right in the middle of it, the audio cut out because I had those Ray-Ban glasses. So the Bluetooth speaker that I had, or microphone I had going, all of a sudden switched to the glasses for some freaking reason. And yeah, talked for about 8 minutes about what a wonderful cruise it was, and nobody could hear a thing I said. It was horrible. There's a little bit of a delay, so be prepared for that. Why do I look so freaking fuzzy? What's going on here? Oh, it must be the Zoom. All right, let's see what everyone's got going on here. Let's pop out the chat. Pop out chat, gets it a little bigger. Expand right there. And we are solid. All right, 5 by 5, as they say. $500 though. So what ship? So a lot of you that watch me are a little bit older. I mean, my demographics and my analytics show that nobody under 18 watches me, or actually very few people under 24. I am 30 and above. That's this channel. But if you're in the 45 to 50 area, maybe even in your 60s, the best cruise you will ever go on is the 80s cruise, especially if you were into 80s music. I did that all last week. And, you know, keep in mind, I have been in the last 3 years on almost 17 cruises, maybe 16. Maybe this was 16th. Anyway, so I've been on a handful of cruises. Granted, I'm not one of these people that have been on 50 and 100 cruises, but I've gotten some experience in cruises, and I have a lot of cruises to compare this one to. By far, this was the best cruise I've ever been on. I mean, it was all 80s. They had video game arcade, like old ones. We're talking Donkey Kong, Galaga, things like that. The bands that were on there, these are the bands I saw, and there was others I didn't see. OMD, if you went to high school in the 80s, you know OMD. If you ever saw the movie Pretty in Pink, they sang the theme song. Got to meet one of the guys from OMD. The first time I saw them was 1983. Okay, so if you're 19 and just wandered on here, I'm that old. But can't filter virus. Oh my god. So so they had OMD, loved OMD. Berlin was on there. Talked to Terry Nunn, who's the lead singer. I talked to her husband for a while. He was a really nice guy. Paul Spears, nice guy. Interesting story. One of the hosts that does like the trivia night, his name is like Peter Spears. So there's Paul Spears, Peter Spears. When they get to the hotel, which the charter company that makes the cruise, they gave them their room. Well, the hotel gave them the wrong room, sent them up to the celebrity room, which was actually Terry Nunn's room. It was pretty funny. Great story. But I saw Berlin, Men Without Hats. Oddly enough, Safety Dance, if you remember that from the 80s. They were like a one-hit wonder, but they were pretty good. For their age, they knocked it out of the park. Bret Michaels from Poison was there. He did an excellent show. Who else did I see? Gary Newman. Oh my God, Gary Newman. Here in my car, I feel safest of all. Remember that song from the 80s? He was on there. He's leaned a little into what Nine Inch Nails does, but he was still pretty good. A little shocking. I hear the man's almost 70 years old, maybe 65 or so. But that guy killed it. Who else did I see? Oh, Heaven 17. They were big. They had a couple hits in the 80s. They were pretty good. Quiet Riot. I saw Quiet Riot, and those guys really had a good time. They took a picture with my wife. They had cupcake decorating with Quiet Riot on the cruise. That was interesting. But what was really cool about this is they all had interviews where you're in a room probably the size of 2 classrooms in high school type thing. Excuse me. I got a little cold, guys. I should probably mute that, but so it was very intimate because you're not in a big auditorium. I mean, the places they played were like a small auditorium, maybe your high school gym size, a little bit bigger. That's how big these places were that they played. So they were packed. They're right there on you. I probably should have uploaded some pictures before I started this live stream. I didn't think I was going to talk about this, but it was insane. And then all the different venues I went to see behind the music where they just talk about people, and you got stories from Terry Nunn, the guys from OMD. Los Lobos was on there. I didn't make it to see that show. That was the first night, and we were doing a bunch of other stuff. But it was maybe second night. But they were on there. Who else was on there? Who else? Rapper's Delight. What were they called? The Sugar Hill Gang. They were pretty good. They had Nile Rodgers and Chic. Now, there was a little off on the dock concert in Nassau, and it was Nile Rodgers, Chic, Billy Ocean, a couple other ones were on there. There was like 30 bands that you could have seen at any time. It was amazing. It was a great cruise. The absolute greatest cruise I've ever been on. Oh, he did. Professor of Rock interviewed Gary Newman. I got to check that one out. I watch Professor of Rock sometimes. The Safety Dance and Neat 0314. Their version of Safety Dance. So they're one hit wonder. So you usually save your best song for the end of the show or towards the end. They came out and started singing Safety Dance, and that made me stay. Normally, if I'm got to wait till the end, I would have showed up late. They came out with Safety Dance, and believe it or not, and I get it, they're one hit wonder. They killed it. It sounds more upbeat, and it was definitely faster, but it was a great version. So the cruise was expensive, but there's no drink package upgrades. Everyone gets the drink package. That includes soda and everything else. I imagine if you're ordering bottles of wine, that might cost you a little money, but um, you didn't have to worry about anything. It was great. Uh, Food was decent. Royal Caribbean always does pretty good, both in there. I didn't like their specialty restaurant. I forget the name of it, but it was their Italian place. It wasn't that good. It wasn't horrible, but I've had better specialty dining on cruises. It was such a good God. There's so many things I could tell you about that were amazing. Um, I mean, trivia nights everywhere. Battle of the Bands, where Aldo Nova was there too. Glass Tiger was also there. They're another one hit wonder, but they had some other good songs. But there was trivia nights everywhere. There was bingo with Berlin. That was fun. God, it's just so fun. I was just gonna tell you something. Glass Tiger. So the lead singer's from Scotland, and they had a big song in the late '80s, I believe. Um, and So he gets on there, and it's a cruise. People are drinking a little bit early, and I think this was 11 a.m. And people had some drinks, and the waitresses and waiters were dropped off drinks, and someone was talking, and a waiter walked up with his drink, and he stopped, and he goes, "It's sorry," and he gets his drink. The guy goes, "It's okay. Like my father always said, if you drink rum before 10 a.m., you're not an alcoholic. You're a pirate." I was like, "Oh, that's nice. Great father wisdom there." Departure and destination of this cruise. So we left Orlando or Cape Canaveral, Port Canaveral. You fly into Orlando. It's like an hour ride to the port. We stayed there overnight. So we left there, cruised down the Florida Atlantic coast to, I believe, Nassau was the first night. And no, I don't think it was. Anyway, then we went to Jamaica, and then we went to Grand Bahama. So normally on a 7-day cruise, you'll get 4 stops. This one was only 3. I think they wanted to keep most of the entertainment on the ship, which was great. I thought that was amazing. And God, we went to this. Royal has this in, it wasn't Nassau. Was it? No, it was. Oh my God, I forget. One of the stops they take you to. Oh wait, who has the Atlantis? Who has Atlantis? Look it up. I don't want to look it up on my computer. Atlantis Resort in the Bahamas or whatever it is. Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone. Yes, great Glass Tiger song. I think that's the only one that really blew up. Don't forget me. I'm not going to torture you people with singing. Um, why isn't it? Do I have this over there too far? This is weird. I gotta get out of this thing. Okay, so Nassau. Okay, so it was Nassau. Um, so Royal Caribbean has the Royal Beach Club, which is this little spit of an island, like it was I don't even know if it's called an atoll, but they've rebuilt it and they turned it into a little Royal Caribbean Beach Club. It's really interesting because in the center, you get on there, and right over here you see this big like bar and dance type thing. It's outdoors. The whole thing is a swim up bar at the pool, and they have performers there and they have loud music. But if you go to the left, and oddly enough, the music doesn't really, you can barely hear it. There's the family beach, and that's really nice. And then you go past the big bar with all the music, and you have Chill Beach, which is usually older people hanging out, whatever. There's a swim up bar there too, but not a bunch of loud music. The workers they have on there, excellent. Nailed my toe on a rock and went in and talked to the medic guy because I thought it was cut, and I heard about Colin Jost getting staph infection while he was in Nassau or whatever, Bahamas. And the guy's all, "No, it really didn't break the skin. It looks bad, but it didn't break the skin." He just put a little thing on it and sent me on my way. Come to find out, Colin Jost from Saturday Night Live. He was doing the thing where you swim with the pigs, and he had an open cut on his hand, foot, whatever, and he got staph infection. Okay. Did you win the trivia night? I did. Well, we came in second place, so you had to get 16 right. One of the ones. This is the best we did. One of them was uh oh god, what was it? It was like 16. You had to get 16 to win. Two people got 16, and I was the next batch of about 8 people that had 15. And what screwed me up was they had this thing where they asked you what decade were these, and they'd list a cartoon, a Saturday morning cartoon. Was this 80s or 70s? 80s or 70s? And I screwed one up, and I think it was the Hair Bear Bunch. I believe that's what it was. I was rattling around here. Holy shit, we got Chinooks going over our house. I got a little camera up here. I'm trying to see if I can see him. It's a screen. Oh my god, what's the matter with me? So I'm looking at a screen, and I'm thinking I could see in the screen higher. But yeah. So it was the Hair Bear Bunch, I think it was, and I got it wrong. Hair Bear Bunch. This been meaning to check on this. Hair Bear Bunch was only 16 episodes, and it went from 71 to 72, and I put down that it was in the 80s. I remember it as a kid. I don't know why I didn't clue into that. The other cool thing, they had the walk there at in the middle of the Royal Caribbean ship. This one was Adventure of the Sea, and on a big screen they had Saturday morning cartoons playing every single morning. It was great. Did you? Okay, so text. How many of you are watching this on Facebook? Do I got any questions from Facebook? Matter of fact, I'm going to jump over to Facebook, see if we're on there real quick, and then we'll get back to the talking. This is supposed to be being shown on Facebook, but I don't see where. That's odd. That is odd. Let me go in here and see this real quick. Oh, no. Guess I hit the wrong button. All right, now we're back to Facebook. Okay. All right. So, let me give it a second. So the cruise was expensive. Someone said I bet it cost a small fortune. So the cruise was expensive. I think the basic room per person is about, don't quote me on this, I know it's over $3,000, like 3,500, somewhere around there, probably a little bit less. So it is pricey, but everything is included, all these amazing concerts and all the different functions. It is something I really feel like I got my money's worth on this one. Now I had a suite, so my room's a little more expensive this time. I spent 0 time in the room, okay, other than sleeping and showering. So there's so much to do. If you don't really need a cabin with a balcony or even a window, get an inside cabin and just enjoy this cruise if you go. I think the suite is a waste on this one. The one place I will tell you that if you go on a cruise to Alaska, you absolutely need a balcony, okay? You have some hot cocoa on your balcony, enjoy the glaciers, whatever you're looking at. It's a little cold, bring a blanket, have some hot cocoa or coffee, and just enjoy it. Uh, I've taken cruises to the Western Caribbean, Southern Caribbean. I could have gone without a balcony. So I could have gone cheap, but on that channel I like to it's called The Suite Life, so I like to get suites. Next year I will not be getting a suite there. I got a basic balcony room. My next cruise, the only one I have planned right now is next year for um for this one, the 80s cruise again. Why is that? That's why I get inside cabin. Okay, gotcha. Um hey, thanks for the super chat. Hi Violet. I don't know what that says. Hi Violet. Um, thank you for the super chat. Really helps support the channel. In case you don't know, they've jerked everyone around on YouTube recently in last few months. Everyone's views down, not just mine, and it's just really weird. A lot of YouTubers that I'm friends with and channels I watch, there's a serious dip in all of our views, and it's so anything helps right now. So I do appreciate the super chat very much. All right, so now let me ask this again. How many of you are watching this on Facebook? There I am. Okay, I am on Facebook. Going strong. If you guys don't know, I have started paying attention to my Facebook channel, and I ask a lot of questions that come into play in future videos. So a lot of you say I don't get the surveys and all that stuff. That's where I get a lot of the information these days, especially comments and messages that I'll put up on videos. So if you haven't followed me on Facebook, just go to the description of just about any video we've done, and there's a link for it. Tube channel. You know, they've got an AI running the algorithm now, and I think they're working out kinks. And they're also uh counting views differently, and there's just something really weird going on. I mean, World According to Briggs has plateaued. I mean, that happens to all channels. You just plateau unless I do a hard pivot onto something else. It's just going to plateau forever and eventually start dropping off. That's just how YouTube is. Right now, we're plateaued. Our growth is still there. We're still gaining, you know, maybe 100 people a day, new subscribers. Back in 23, we were probably growing by about 1,000 people a day. We're definitely not losing, so that's a plus. Um, but YouTube changes, and most people haven't figured out what's going on. And I don't think there's a way to figure it out, because if they did, all these gurus or people that actually help you with strategy, not just promise you riches, we would have figured it out. I mean, there's few things you got to do that are changed, but most YouTubers, their views are down. Now, one thing I do notice is a difference. Obviously, there's been a flood of channels, which if you follow me on Doing It with Briggs, the channel I rarely do anything with, um, the site has been flooded with AI. So back in the day when typical math thing of back in the day I was one of 100 or one of 10,000 or 100,000 that were uploading videos every single week. Probably more than that. But now I'm one of 5 million uploading every week, and that's how everyone is. So you're a big fish in a much larger pond now is how it is. So anyway, what that's led to is I used to have this strange loyalty thing for YouTube because, hands down, YouTube has changed my life for the better in so many ways. Like I've told this before, so some of you may have heard it. My retirement wasn't going to be great. I had money coming in, but not enough to be going on cruises and doing vacations. I had enough to survive, and then maybe a little extra. Probably would have done something, to make some part-time money when I get to 65 or whatever. But YouTube has 100% changed that. And I love doing YouTube. I love what YouTube's done for my life. So I had a certain amount of loyalty. And I never wanted to focus on Facebook or anything else because YouTube's my home. And there's the loyalty thing. Well, now it's the money's worse than it used to be. So I started kind of doing some research, and YouTube doesn't care if you share your videos on other places. So Facebook is paying well now. So I'm trying to grow that to help. I'm not going to stop YouTube ever, but to get another stream of income, we're going to be doing Facebook. And we have other channels like the cruise channel and doing it with Briggs. Those are like little side projects I mess with occasionally. But yeah, that's how it is. I am on Rumble. Rumble, I have some videos blow up, but the amount they pay is so low compared to Facebook, Instagram, and especially YouTube, which is king of the hill on that. Sometimes I forget about it. Rumble is like Twitter these days, though. And if you like Twitter, that's fine. It's just everything's negative, everything's toxic, so I don't like it. Well, Rumble's not nearly as bad as them, but that's the same type of crowd, which, for their credit, I think Rumble's trying to widen their audience to where it's not just people that are talking toxic politics. It still dominates the site, but the platform, I guess. But yeah, I am on Rumble also. What it is, we're never going to get rid of this channel. I mean, until the day it stops making money, we'll always do this channel. I love this channel. I loved On This Day, but that one, we're putting in effort and it just wasn't good. We're making, far less than minimum wage doing On This Day. So my son took it over, and he's busy and he's trying to get it going, and he hasn't put, I don't think, that much effort into it, but he eventually will. But let's hope. I think a lot of people heard the different voice and they thought someone hacked my channel. And so I think that was a little bring back MySpace. Yeah, that'd be great. Well, my thoughts on TikTok, it depresses me. I upload something to Facebook, whether it's a short or Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, and I get views. I upload something to TikTok and I might get 40 views. And that's probably because I haven't put the effort into it. I also don't like their pay structure and how they pay very few people a lot of freaking money. Then everyone else gets scraps, which I don't like that. That's one thing I do like about YouTube. Everyone gets a fair shake. And I just don't think TikTok's that way. You're not going to get the growth unless you're uploading every single day. And when you upload every single day on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, that's a good way to grow as long as you got good content, but it's also impractical. Where's the mix? There's a whole bunch. Now, here's another thing. There's a whole bunch I need to redo. And this is one way YouTube is combating. I got a little bit of a cold, guys, so if my voice sounds weird, and if I keep coughing, which I probably should mute when I do, like I'm going to right now. So to combat people just copying what you do, because for a while there, back around 2024, early 2025, and if I put up a video, the next day or the day after, there was at least 20 other videos on the same subject. And in some cases, they just took my script and ran it through AI, which, again, I've talked about this before. So now YouTube if someone has a video just like yours, the algorithm picks it up or the AI picks it up and they won't give you as much reach. So gone are the days where they just wait for me to upload a good video and then they copy it. You go to some of these AI channels and you could just see that some of them are still trying that. And, it's like 3 days into it, they've got 10,000 subscribers and the video has 142 views. That's not, that's horrible. But yeah. Thank you. Good to see you too. I did the 10 most religious states not too long ago. Did good. I think that's one that I did like 3 years ago and re-upped it. Did okay. But these days, if I try and redo anything, it doesn't do that well. Hello, Briggs. Good to see you. We have been watching you for quite a few years now. You're amazing. Thank you very much. From one veteran to another, thank you for service. Thank you so much for your service. Good man. Thank you. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Love your thumbnails, by the way. How do you guys like the new thumbnails? They've been doing better. So, the AI, I don't like to use AI voice. I don't like it when people use AI to create the whole thing. If you're using AI as a tool, just like you would have used anything else that was a tool, like Photoshop as a tool. Sure, you got to work at it, but AI is a tool and it can help you in a lot of things. When you rely on it to create everything, that's when it's a problem. And I think that's what YouTube's cracking down on. And that's one of the things they're cracking down on because when you use AI, it's easy to just throw up videos every 10 minutes, right? If you wanted to with AI and two people, you could be probably putting up a video every 2 hours on YouTube if you wanted. The quality's going to suck, but you could do it. Well, YouTube's cracking down on that. You can't just keep flooding the thing. And that's people just abusing AI. Now, if you use it as a tool, maybe sometimes I'll take pictures of a place, and if I'm talking about the past, I'll just ask AI to make it look like it did back in the 1800s, something like that. Little things to move the story along. It's a visual aid. Um, that's that's okay in my opinion. I mean, other people might see it differently, but the thumbnails is another thing. Use AI thumbnails. Everyone else is using them. You don't want them to look like everyone else's. You don't take their thumbnail and go make another one just like this. No, have your own idea, have your own concept, and use AI to do the pictures for your thumbnail or make your thumbnail. You still have to give it directions. Some people might think that's using too much AI, but reality is my click through rate is doing better, which says my YouTube or my thumbnail's doing better. Something weird is my last video got almost 1,500 views, and it wasn't even good. It was kind of video. Okay, so I've put up videos before. I thought, oh, this one's gonna do horrible, and it blew up. Well, shows what I know. But yeah, you're not the only person to put up a video you thought was Yeah, well, see, that's how some people see it. It's not okay to use AI ever. Uh, you know, everyone has their thing. I think it's when you use AI to steal other people's ideas, that's when it's really bad. AI is dangerous too. I agree. Just like anything else, if it's abused, it's going to be a problem. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, John. So I'm missing the chat. I'm yammering on so much I'm missing the chat, guys. So let me catch up a little bit. Someone forgot to turn winter ears on. Here's someone out there coming down the ladder. Someone forgot to turn on winter this year. Yeah. They did have those big winds. Didn't you have a big storm or anyone that's back east just a couple weeks ago? Oregon. Yeah, Oregon, we haven't got anything. It's been like 50 degrees all year or all winter and no snow here in the Portland metro area. Two of these drinks. They're not alcoholic. I'm not double fisting it, but that one was almost finished and I knew I'd need another one. Here is my Facebook link in case you guys want to get on there. What do I think about that? It's not something I do. I mean, that just puts me to sleep, so it's not my thing. But you do you. As long as you're doing it safely and not affecting other people, I got nothing to say. I don't even, you know, not something I concern myself with. It's just not for me because I'll just fall asleep. I might as well just take NyQuil. I from PDX appreciate the humor and info. Thank you for watching. I'm actually putting effort into writing a book about being a YouTube creator, and in it, I'm going to be including all those fun emails I get. Like the guy who threatened to curb stomp me if I ever visited Mississippi. Which, as I told him in the email, that's impossible because I don't think Mississippi has any curbs. We got 126 people watching. Don't forget to hit the like button. Oh, that's another thing, guys. Please hit the like button moving forward. Go back and watch my videos. I mean, watch some older ones if you would be so kind. Make sure you hit the like button and leave a comment. That's really affecting how your views and how your channel gets exposure by the interaction or the engagement, as they call it. So it's very, very important. I love Ohio. I'm going to go there this season and see a Browns game before they leave the old stadium. Why would anyone? My biological father and my brothers and sisters, they were all born and raised there. They've all left. So let's discuss this real quick. I love your channel, Briggs, but I hate the stock images. Can you do more real ones and take on your travel? So I do include it when I do travel. Now, when I did a majority of my travel, it was just still photography, because when I was doing most of my traveling, it was prior to me ever considering doing the YouTube. I didn't even know much about YouTube at the time. Now, I do mix in a lot of my own footage when available, but I do 3 videos a week normally, and that's about 12 a month, every single month, every single year for 7 years now. There's no way I could include mostly my footage. I ran out of footage of my still photography a long time ago, and I reuse it sometimes. And I do use videos from my travels, my current travels these days. Like I went to Jamaica, went to all these different places, was in Florida last week. Some of the footage I have will bleed into my upcoming videos. I was in New York last September. Some of that footage is blended in there. I was in Canada 6 months ago. Some of that, Los Angeles, I was down there. Some of that footage is already made in there. But for me to not use stock footage or anything else, you'd be looking at blank screens. So it's a necessary evil. Sure, I wish I had, a million hours of my own footage to put on my videos, but the fact is, I just do too many videos to be able to supply that kind of demand. So that's how it is. In reality, this is less of a travel channel and more of a statistics channel. Okay. So we're in my head, which I mean, I like to show you new places, but a big focus of this video is this channel is surveys and statistics and geography, especially cultural and social geography. If I am missing any, what do you call it? Any super chats, please let me know. I only saw one, and I get the feeling while I've been yammering on I may have missed some. Let me go to this one and see if there's any up there. No, I think I only had one. That was it. Yeah, I only had one. Okay. All right, let's get back to what's going on here. Okay. About how much do you a year do I spend, or how much of the year do I spend traveling? Um, Probably up until early 2025 or late 2024 when I had health issues. I had a minor stroke. I'm fine. Everything works. Um, I was traveling probably at least 2 weeks every other month. So about a week a month. Nah, probably not that much. A little bit less than that. Um, every 3 months, I was probably spending 10 days on traveling. Okay. That's about what it was. Now, 23, 24, I was traveling about tw- double or triple that. But I slowed down after I had some medical concerns. Um, so, yeah. So I've slowed it down a little bit, but I'm still a well traveled person. So, recently, yeah, actually, just Samson, I do need a moderator. I've been thinking about hitting Denzel up about that. Denzel's always on my live streams. I don't know if they might be working, but hey, thank you for the super chat. But when I do shorts, they don't really resonate with an older audience, and I have an older audience. Now, in recent months, they've done something, and I have seen a little traction from them, especially if I put a little extra effort into the short. Spend a couple hours making a short and goes up. I know some people throw up a short and, after 15 minutes worth of work, and they throw up about 10 a day. I did this one about traveling the Oregon coast or the Pacific coast, and that one did pretty good. I have a super chat. One super chat is enough. I have a second one for you. Fletcher Boy, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. But I do have an. How'd you guys like the slogan one the other day? That one, oddly enough. So if I have a channel that's did good in percentage viewed, it's usually sitting around 60%, meaning most of the people watched at least 60% of the video, which, believe it or not, is pretty high for a YouTube channel. I mean, if you're some excellent, insane person that's knocking them out of the park, and you're some Mr. Beast level channel, you might have higher. But the average channel, if you get over 50%, that's a good video. So sometimes I get like 60%, and I forgot where I was going with this one. Lost my train of thought. Someone must said something. Oh, that's right. So the slogan one, it's 60 something, which is great. So everyone wanted to see what their state was. Got another super chat. Thank you very much, Renee Kemp. Thanks for the hard work you do. Well, thank you for appreciating that, and thank you for the super chat. If you guys do watch cruises, Don Terrace, who's Don's Family Vacation, and he does some other things. He's an old school cruise vloggers. That guy's got some bad news medically. I'm not that close to him, but I've met him a few times, and yeah, he's got some tumors growing in him. It's pretty bad. I've been thinking about that all day. Don's a good guy. Have you ever been to Nimrod, Oregon? No. Slogan video, yeah. Two more super chats. Got those. I think I got them. I miss any? Uh, Renee, appreciate that. Yep. Fletcher Boy, got that. Okay, perfect. Yes, Don. So sad, I know. Don's a really, really nice guy. Was on a cruise with him, a cruise like 3 years ago or so, and really, really nice guy. Really nice guy. Yeah. So everyone, if you're the praying type, keep Don in your prayers. Oh, let's see what this one says. Briggs, I think it's a little funny that Texas and Florida are always talked about as states to move to, but the in between states of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama are always bashed on. Yes, you know why? Because they suck. Um, Alabama, the best of the three. The the deep South states are not good. I mean, other than Georgia's pretty good, South Carolina's got a heap of problems, but nothing is as bad as Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana. And it's not deep South, but you can also throw Arkansas in there with it. They're not good states. And do I think it's on the people? No. I mean, unless you want to pull the political thing, you get what you vote for. No, it's things have changed in those states, and the politicians never kept up. And in a lot of cases, it has to do with back in the day, they didn't focus on education enough. So that's one of the reasons. And I think it's the major reason. So back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, when everyone was realizing we need to educate our citizens better than we have been, they didn't really jump on that bandwagon. So when the tech booms started happening in the 90s, they didn't have a workforce to pull in these companies, and that sucks. The Midwest, sort of picked up on it earlier than that, and that's why a lot of Midwest cities are now tech hubs. So I didn't exclude them so yeah, that's why people often exclude Texas for, oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you were saying, why did you? Um, yeah, there's a difference between the deep South, even though Florida is the lowest. Deep doesn't mean really lowest on the map, but the deep South states are considered Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and South Carolina. Those are deep South. Spanish Fort used to be. Spanish Fort used to be a very nice place. I've been to Spanish Fort, and it was in the 80s. Had to stay in for the military thing. I had to stay in Mobile for about 3 weeks, and we were doing nothing, so we had a lot of free time. I went over Spanish Fort a couple times. So you're like, Briggs, why would you go all the way over to Spanish Fort if you're in Mobile? There's more things to do. There was a girl in Spanish Fort, and I was young and I was single, so you will cross a bridge or two for a young lady when you're 21. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that Mississippi at one point, I believe, was the richest, or I know it was one of the richest states we had back in the 1800s. And of course, Civil War and a couple other things like getting rid of their free labor, which was slave labor, uh, kind of killed the state. Yeah, doing nothing in the army. Shocking, huh? If I could turn, you know, probably Chicago would have been the best place to live during the Roaring Twenties. Yeah, North Carolina and Virginia are a little bit immune from those Southern jokes and mentality. I mean, Florida is totally different from most of the South, but those Florida man stories do kind of go, oh yeah, they are South, aren't they? Boo, 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 boo. Roar. No, the 20s fashions. Yeah, Bluffton, South Carolina, by the way, is a great place to live. Even though it's in the deep south. I wouldn't mind living in Charleston, Bluffton. I don't know about Myrtle Beach, but there's a few places I'd love to live in, especially Charleston. The history, the city's nice, ocean views, beautiful. I wouldn't mind living in Charleston myself. I could do without their humidity, but they're on the coast, so it's not as bad as inland South Carolina, where my biological father and brother live now. What are the best current places to live right now? You will have to wait 8 days to find that out, 9 days to find that out. That video is coming up. Charleston's one of those places I look at the really rich homes. They're very expensive ones, over $2 million. That's what I like to do on Zillow. It helps motivate me to make more videos. And not like I'll ever move to South Carolina or Charleston, but I still like to daydream about what it would be like to own one of those houses there. Oh, and sometime next week, the first two video, well, actually, the first video will be finished on Married to Mystery. That's our true crime channel coming up. And it's a very interesting story about Louisiana, speaking of the South. Oh, yeah, West Virginia. You know, there's a few states that just jump out at people because of their beauty. You know, Colorado, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana. Sure, they all have pockets where they're not so good looking. Like, you know, Oregon's backcountry is like the desert almost, along with Washington. And Montana's got that flat part. So does Wyoming. So does Colorado. They all got that flat Kansas looking area. But there are so many parts of it that are just absolutely beautiful. If you look at the land of West Virginia, other than the rundown towns that they have and stuff, but if you just look at the nature, it's hard to find an ugly place there. There really is. I mean, even California has some of the most beautiful scenery, from the coast to the redwoods to Yosemite and a bunch of other places. But you also have Death Valley, which, yes, I know some people enjoy that desert, but most don't really. But West Virginia doesn't have a place like that. They've got just beautiful land everywhere. Beautiful mountain, water everywhere. You know, just amazing. Hey, you got another super chat. Thank you very much, John J. Little. Doing it with Briggs. Would like to know the schedule. I am also a creator and okay, so I've got a video I'm editing right now that'll probably be out by Wednesday. I'd like to do more on that. I'm going to do some shorter videos about, creating on YouTube. And the next video is don't sleep on Facebook, which is what I'm doing right now, building my Facebook. Facebook is paying very well right now. So that video will be out next week. And I've got some other things. The reason I slowed that down is because we don't understand what YouTube's doing right now. So a lot of the things that I would give you advice on how to grow a YouTube channel, it's changing. And I mean, you can get 50 different answers about what's happening right now. I like to have a little proof of what I'm doing works. Like, I'm going to bring up the AI thumbnails in a future video, probably the next couple weeks, because the proof is there. My click-through rate is up because I started using AI thumbnails. Now, I know a lot of people don't dig it, like I just talked about, but the proof's in the, in the numbers. And, I hope you're not here for my thumbnails. I hope you're here for what I'm talking about, my stats and my voice and my jokes to a degree. But we'll be talking about thumbnails and a few other things that I know are working right now as YouTube goes through this transition thing. And we'll also be talking about all the different ways. Another video coming up the next week or two is the new ways you can actually make money on YouTube. If you don't know, I have another channel that I do occasionally called Doing It with Briggs. There's a link for that also, where we talk about how to grow a YouTube channel or just how to become a YouTube creator. What's so bad about South Carolina? They have so many small towns that are just poverty stricken, crime ridden, and horrible infrastructure. Now, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, Bluffton, a few other places are amazing. But you have far too many small rural towns that are just a frickin' nightmare. That's their problem. What type of music do I like? I like everything. I'm not a country guy, but I do like the modern folk stuff they have. Gregory Alan Isaacoff, Redbird, stuff like that. But for the most part, that's what I've been listening to mostly. And but I think I have an actual record player now, nice one. But I have Pink Floyd on there right now, so I go all over the place. But I was never a country guy, and I was never a heavy metal guy. Everything else I like. Well, I don't like rap or anything like that, but just about any kind of rock or folk I dig. Hey, we got another super chat. Fly girl, how are you? Always hearing what you have to say. I always like hearing what you have to say. Well, I appreciate that so much. You have no idea. But both you and John, thank you for supporting the channel. I really appreciate that. And like I said, John, I got something coming out really soon, next week sometime. So hopefully we'll get on track. I'm actually, now that this cruise is over, I plan on spending a lot of time making videos for all three of the channels. Yeah, I love Pink Floyd. One of my favorite songs right now is Wish You Were Here. Now, here's the thing. I never appreciated Pink Floyd until probably the last 5 or 6 years. And yeah, I mean, they were, big when I was a teenager and stuff like that, but that wasn't my type of music. I was listening to punk rock and for a while there, new wave and alternative. Um, but something just hit me about Pink Floyd over the last handful of years, and I started listening to them. You know what other band, which is going to blow you away, some of you, that I really got into the last couple of years since I saw their documentary, their biography thing? Chicago. Most people remember Chicago for their theme songs, The Karate Kid, and just all these sappy pop songs that they did in the 1980s. But in the 1970s, when they still had Terry Kath, who sadly died, they were a rock band. And that music during that time, freaking awesome. In the documentary, they talk about how he was gone and they wrote like one pop theme song that made it onto the top 40 stuff, and it wasn't even on rock channels, but it paid them a lot. So they even said, we got addicted to that money, that success. So we started turning out pop songs instead of rock songs. They all went to school together too. The entire band, I think. Yeah, Terry Kath, interesting thing. He was playing with a gun, and his friends will put that away. It might go off. He's all not loaded. Click, boom. Yeah. He's trying to show his friend that didn't have bullets in it, and that's how sure he was of it. And yeah, it ended him. Uh, oh, 25 or 6-4. Story on that is very interesting. They discussed that, how they wrote that, what it's from. Late night evening of doing substances that keep you awake in the 1970s and 80s. And in the apartment above the Whiskey A Go-Go, they have an apartment up there, and guy was sitting on the floor, and it was 25 or 6 to 4 a.m. He wasn't sure. Hey, Briggs, was thinking about going to Portland, Maine this summer for vacation. It's beautiful. I went there late August, early September. No, yeah, I think it was last year or the year before. It was beautiful. My mistake was I was on a cruise, And I walked around Portland for a while, but we had one of these excursions where they're going to take us to Kennebunkport and back. It sucked. Don't ever take that excursion. It's like an hour and a half ride to Kennebunkport, and then it's you stay in Kennebunkport long enough to have lunch and look around for 5 minutes, and then you got to get back on the bus to head back to the cruise ship. So I still had a chance once we got back for about an hour to walk around Portland. First time I'd been there in quite some time. It's a nice place. I mean, there's plenty of things to do. Um, yeah, enjoy it. What I find funny is how always detests and is most afraid of my state. Okay, I'm not afraid of any state, and I don't detest any state. So you're living in a state of mind. I do, however, hate how some states are run and they don't try and fix things. That's where I have a problem with states. Always treat every gun like it's loaded. Always, always, always. There's two things I've learned in my life that have stopped a lot of bad things from happening. One, always assume a gun is loaded, and it has a hair trigger. I like to add that caveat into it. And never stick your hand in soapy water in a sink. If you do, make sure you're doing it like there are sharp knives in there. Like there are sharp butcher knives in there and stuff like that. Make sure you're thinking about that. That's what's in there. And if you can't see into it, just assume that's what's going on. Some guy gave me a hard time the other day. You didn't include Jackson, Mississippi in the worst towns in Mississippi. What's the matter with you? Sorry, I had a little coughing fit there. But he's all, what's the matter with you? You didn't include Jackson into the worst towns in Mississippi. I'm all, Jackson's not a town, it's a city. So, I don't know if you understand how the word afraid works, but it doesn't apply to thinking a state is in bad shape. It's just not a word that fits there. So, obviously, you're trying to get me to ask what state it is because you haven't said yet, and you're trying to get into a discussion. It's not going to happen. The thing is, nothing. Um, there's nothing to be afraid of about a state. Maybe there's a street you don't want to go down. Might be a little afraid to do that. Might be a neighborhood you're a little afraid of. But a state, that doesn't work. That's not how it happens. That's unrealistic. That's eighth grade thinking. I like Wish You Were Here, Pink Floyd. Raised in Cleveland, lived in Seattle for 20 years. And I'm looking at buying a house in New Mexico. Loved your recent video on New Mexico. Nice towns. There are some nice towns in New Mexico. They do have a problem with crime in Albuquerque. Again, just like any city, just depends on where you're at. Okay, it's still a nice city. There's just some areas you should probably avoid. Know where they are. Know before you go, as I always say. So I'd like to tell you which videos I'm doing soon, but I noticed something. There's a couple channels that they're probably watching right now. They're AI channels, and I've mentioned videos I have coming up on World According to Briggs. In the next day, those titles are up on their channels. Amazing how that works. Okay, we're kind of done with you. We'll put you in a timeout. Looking to retire in mountains of Japan or northern Italy. Thoughts? Japan's gonna be a little expensive, uh, but it's very, very beautiful, and the people are amazing. Italy, again, beautiful, wonderful food. I'd move to Italy because that's the type of food I like. I loved living in Italy, getting real Italian food. Um, so I would move to Italy first, but I think the smart move is probably Japan if you can afford it. Yeah, I'll tell you that a city is or a state or a city is a nightmare, but you could still find a great place to live everywhere, okay? Maybe not some city that is 100% falling apart like South or East St. Louis or Jackson, Mississippi, okay? It's hard to find a nice neighborhood there. Uh, South Side Chicago, okay? It's hard to find a nice place to live on the south side of Chicago. If you go to the north side of Chicago, that's a different world. And it's amazing. It's great city to live in as long as you're not in South Side. Now, tons of people do live perfectly quiet lives in South Side, but we live in a world where you have to evaluate, what you're getting and your safety. You have to evaluate everything. It breaks down to percentages, and that's why I always go by the percentage. If you've got a 1 in 5 chance of becoming a victim of a crime in Southside Chicago, that's pretty high when it can be 1 in 150 on the north side of Chicago, that type thing. So that's how you could still survive someplace perfectly fine in a bad neighborhood or a bad part of town. It's just you got a better chance of having a really bad time or something bad happening to you. I love Chicago myself. I've been there since I started this channel probably 6 times. I love it. I've been there once or twice in the 90s, and then since 2022, I think I've been there quite a few times. Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Oh, I'm sorry, that was the wrong one. That's what I was trying. Nobody. I appreciate that, Just Samson. So here's something I'm doing recently. That book I've told you guys all to get if you really want to learn about the United States. I'm reading Blue Highways for like the fifth time. I started reading it last week. Something sparked my interest, and I started reading it again. I love that book. Oh my god. Hey, make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up too. By the way, where are we on likes? Oh my god, I'm very delayed here. Oh no, I'm not. This is delayed. So there is a pretty good delay of what I'm saying and what you guys are putting in the chat. So keep that in mind. So if you think I ignored you 100%, there's good delay. Oh, and I always recommend that book. The video I recommend you should watch, which I again have watched several times, is How Wolves Changed a River. Oh my god, it's a great video. It's very interesting. Learn a new phrase or word in there. Tropic cascade. Yeah, that's how it is for a lot of places for people, and I that's how I was with Southern California. I hated how expensive it was, but I thought I'd really, never leave, and eventually I was like, "Yeah, I'm leaving." But I have friends that, they make good money, and they're barely getting by in some cases because they want to live near the beach in Southern California, and they probably could live a way better life if they moved to Arizona, which a lot of them are doing these days, in Nevada, which I know one of my best friends and his girlfriend, well, they're both really good friends, me and my wife, they moved to Henderson a couple years ago. Moved or visited Seattle and Portland 90s. Lots. No, both. Yeah. You know, Portland is weird. Uh, I love the city and I love downtown. I wish it was cleaner and I wish they'd fix a lot of things. Uh, but it is what it is. Every city goes through their phase, and they've been going through their phase a little too long. Like I've said in a video, one of Portland's biggest problems is they tried to help everyone, and they gave too much attention to everyone with a megaphone. So you had all these people, oh, the homeless needs help, homeless needs help. Let's get the homeless help because that's the way it should be. I mean, you should always help your fellow citizens, uh, the ones you can. If you are truly just a drug addict, we're going to give you help getting off drugs, but we're not going to, give you money to live this lifestyle. That's how it should be looked at. That's my opinion. This is all my opinion. There's a lot of homeless people out there that just need mental health. They just need a hand to get up. But there are some people that are just drug addicts, and I 100% believe we should give them rehab all day long if they need it. But I also don't think we should be just giving them money to, live this lifestyle or get by. So we have too many programs, my opinion, and we put too much money into it. And like the old saying goes, if you ring a dinner bell, something's going to show up. Okay. And we've been ringing the dinner bell here for years, and something showed up. Now we can't get rid of them. Not now that sounds really cruel, but we can't get rid of the situation is what I'm saying, not the people. I'd love to find a house for everyone, and I'd love for everyone to go to rehab that needs it 100%. And I'd love all the mental health people suffering from mental health. I'd love for them to get the help they need. It costs a lot of money. I just think we need to quit ringing that dinner bell. If you want help, you got to do this. If you don't want help, you know, keep doing what you're doing until you end up in jail for a couple of years. Yeah, some of them don't want help. Some of them just want to live that lifestyle. Fine. If you want to live that lifestyle, do your thing. Don't affect other people. Don't camp out in front of businesses. Nick's my friend, and if you dislike something, if you dislike this channel, I never hold anything like that against people. Nick is my friend. Nick, in case you guys don't know, me and Nick are friends. He had a channel very similar to what I'm doing back in the early days. We were doing kind of the same thing, but we were still friends. Weren't really competing, and we didn't know each other when we started either. So, his channel's changed to where he's going to a lot of places and going to homeless camps and stuff like that. And it's not something I want to do, but I mean, it makes everything in his videos so political, and it is exhausting for a lot of people. I mean, my channel, uh, the analytics will tell you if I went more into politics, I would get more new viewers. Okay. That's not something I want to do. I mean, I might touch on subjects a little bit, but I'm not going full political. It's working for Nick because he's getting views, and his channel has been doing great over the last couple years. But that's just not what I want to do. I mean, I like to trade. I like to stay neutral when it comes to politics. Sometimes, views on certain things might be like I was just talking about the homeless situation. Sure, there's some things that I'm liberal on, but there's some things I'm conservative on. I'm more of a libertarian than anything, but I do have some things, and that's how it should be. You should be following politics Um, not by what someone tells you you should be believing, what works for you. I mean, I like to have my firearms. Um, I'd like to have free healthcare. Uh, I'd like to see free college, but do I want to be taxed through the nose? No. Do I want to help every person that doesn't want to get a job? Absolutely not. Things like that. Do I believe sometimes we need to go to war? 100%. That's how you should be. And I don't vote for any political party. I vote for who I think is going to do the best job. And I vote for the issues that I think are what I want, not what some party told me to do. So, yeah, that's just me. But yeah, channels these days, politics is big and it's a good way to grow. Not something I want to do. Oh, we got some super chats. Let me make sure I didn't miss any. We got Seattle, Portland. That one. Let's get down to this next one in Canadian money. It is Granite Man. Vancouver, BC. Came downtown east side. Scary drug. Yeah, I was there. I saw some, just a couple months ago. I saw some pretty ugly things in Vancouver. Canada overall is just a beautiful, beautiful country. And compared to a lot of US cities, and especially Mexico cities, it's well maintained compared to the other major cities in the United States or North America, let's say. I think it does better at most things like that. But Vancouver and other cities, they got some problems, and that's the thing about cities. It's really not the policies. Well, it is the policies. It's not only the policies that make a city turn. A lot of it has to do with population density. That's all there's to it. That's why rural towns, small towns, will always, well, in most cases, I'm sure there's some that are just holes, but most of the time, rural towns are better run compared to cities. Well, that's because they don't have 4 million people living in the rural town. More people means more problems. Get people living on top of each other, and you got more problems. All right, let's see. This one says, thank you, everyone, for supporting the channel. Uncle Jay. Here we go. I think the absolute worst problem is the food due to all the food we waste. Yeah, 100%. Even if an apple is perfectly fine example, it just, yeah. I mean, grocery stores throw out food every single day. Now, they don't like people to get that food out of the trash can because then that just means one less person to come inside and buy some food, which, my opinion, I think that should be a crime. I don't think you should be able to throw food out. I think if you've got food that is going bad and not up to your standards, but is still healthy, the food kitchen should come pick it up. I think that's how it should be done. But they just don't. And there's laws saying you can't dig out of trash cans, and they lock their trash cans. And I think if someone's at the point where they're going to dig through a trash can, you should let them get what they want. Yeah, Nick's a good guy. I like Nick. But you know what? It's not everyone's cup of tea. I don't like watching Mr. Beast. I think he does an excellent job at what he's doing. That's not my cup of tea. But he has the most followers on YouTube and the giant channel and probably the most successful ever YouTuber. Just not my cup of tea. And, that's the great part. Calgary. I'm going up to Calgary to watch a Flames game. I mean, most people don't know this. See, I don't like I like the Dodgers because I grew up on the Dodgers, but my favorite team is the White Sox. So I'm a White Sox fan because I read a book. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan because I met a Cleveland Browns player when I was, well, a few of them, when I was like 15 and 16. They played for the USFL. And then when, in your head, you start to think, these are my friends because I talked to them a few times. That's how it is in your 15, 16-year-old head. Well, then the league shut down. They went to the Browns, like Kevin Mack and a few other people. So I started watching the Browns because I was watching my friends play. So I become a Browns fan. So I'm a Chicago fan. I'm a Browns fan. At the time, never had been to Chicago. Never had been to Cleveland back then when I started liking them. And then when it came to hockey, I was at a Kings game one night and talked to a few of the Calgary Flames players after the game, and they have this bar. If you get certain tickets, like a lot of the players go to this bar after the game. It's in the stadium at the old Forum Stadium. So I went in there and got to talk to someone when I was like 21, 22, and it was cool. And so I became a Calgary Flames fan. Yeah, so I mean, in most cases, cities will always be worse than small towns. Almost, I say almost because there are some totally wrecked small towns, and there are some cities that do good things. Uh, Overland Park, great suburb. Briggs, do you think Atlanta is starting to dominate Georgia the same way Chicago dominates Illinois, Seattle dominates what? Yeah, 100%. That's where most people are moving to in that state. It has a lot of opportunity. That's the thing. People are drawn to major cities. Now, a lot of people don't get this, but one of the reason one of the major reasons cities lean Democrat is because that's where all the college educated people have had to move to. Not all, but a majority of college educated people move to cities because that's where the jobs for a college educated person is. Okay. So you get, and it's, these are little percentage points that change things. And then there's a better percentage for decades of people going to college were Democrats or they came out as Democrats. So they would move to a city to apply their job with their Democrat voting habits. Okay. And this happens almost every city. I think right now, last I checked, and the numbers might change a little bit, but 96% of US cities are run by Democrats. And that's why a lot of the people moving there and a lot of the issues Democrats have focused on since the 1950s really apply to cities. They're going to help getting homeless. They're going to help change things where there more money goes into. I don't even get into that part, but so that's why a lot of cities are Democrat controlled. They lean Democrat because of the college situation. Now, the percentages are at one point, I think it was 62% of college grads were Democrats. Well, that's fine. That's not a big percentage, but when this happens decade after decade, every single year, it starts showing a difference. A lot of people just associated that and then the other problem is everyone just associates or says it's Democrat policies that make these cities bad. Well, the policies do play a part, but it's not like all the Republican cities are knocking it out of the park either. You got to remember Bakersfield, which is not a great city in California, even though my niece just bought a house there. Sorry, sweetie. Fresno, Stockton, those are all Republican leaning places, along with Miami for a long time. Just recently, they switched to a Democrat like 2 months ago. A lot of these cities are a nightmare, and they had Republican leaning city councils and mayors. So it's not always the policies. Gets back to the more people means more problems. Hey, Adam, how are you doing? Sorry, guys, I'm yammering on again. But Atlanta, which got me on that little thing, was Atlanta's growing, and Atlanta has a lot of opportunity, and Atlanta has a lot of jobs for college educated people. Now, the thing is, my prediction in the next 20 or 30 years, that's going to be less of a thing. It's going to be more spread out because not everyone needs to move to a big city to apply their trade that they went to college for. Um, Remote work is going to be a bigger and bigger thing down the line here. I mean, I could do my job right now anywhere. I mean, I could move down to Mexico City. I could move to, as long as I got an internet connection and an airport nearby, I could do this job. And that's how a lot of jobs are becoming, or more and more. I shouldn't say most, but more and more, that's a thing that they can be done with a computer. And as we get used to this in society, there's going to be more checks and balances for the workers. So they're doing the work, and they're not just resting at home doing 10 minutes worth of work. I mean, there's a lot of checks and balances now. Comcast, They're, they've got a supervisor at home monitoring this just for their sales thing, monitoring all the numbers and making sure people are on their computer, making sure people are taking their calls, all that. There are checks and balances to doing work. But at the end of the day, really breaks down to, are you doing the job properly? And they're finding new ways to monitor that. And that'll just create more work from home situations. All right, guys, I'm going to wind this down in about 4 minutes because I got to eat some food. I got a little bit of a cold and I'm starting to get a little sweaty around here. And I'm in a relatively cool room. So I just got back from a cruise. I'm sure I picked up a little bug while I was there. Uh, the absolute last time I remember going to an airport when I took a plane and we flew somewhere was Hartford to Orlando in March. I got to change this font. I can barely read that. Went to Disney World. Orlando looked better than Hartford. Yeah, Disney World's kind of a neat place. See, now that's it's there's no need for that. What you just said, which I don't want to be rude to you, but it's stupid. Just because someone doesn't vote or see things the way you do doesn't mean they're a left wing wacko, okay? The same thing could be said about right wing people, that you're all into your guns and, whatever we want to, whatever someone wants to say about you. It's just, it's other Americans have a different point of view than you do. Doesn't mean they're a wacko, okay? You got to get that mentality. This right here, this guy's comment, that's one of the biggest problems the United States is facing. That the powers that be, whether it's politicians or companies, they've convinced you that the enemy is other Americans that don't see things the way you do. Okay. And that harkens back to the old days of the Soviet Union. If anyone doesn't agree with you, they're against the motherland and there's something wrong with them and they need to be jailed and that all that stuff. That's old communism stuff right there. If they don't agree with you, they're evil and they're trying to bring down the system. That's nuts. That is 100% nuts. How can people, it depends on what you're making. See, affordability is really relative to your situation. If you're working at Taco Bell part-time, your reality is a lot different than someone that's an electrician working full time at a union job, So they might be able to afford something in California without a problem. But if you're, I'm not saying you are, but if someone's working Taco Bell as an assistant manager at midnight, they're not going to be making the same kind of money as an electrician, journeyman, or whatever. Normally, when someone says that, right leaning wackos or whatever, libtards or whatever the thing is, or, they're in a cult with Trump, that's usually from someone who didn't bother looking into the other side. They've just taken what one side told them to think and they stuck with it without doing a little research on how people see things. I mean, you gotta don't trust the news and don't trust other people to tell you how you should think. Hey, thank you for becoming a member. Why did that just disappear? Did I click on that? It went away. I'm sorry. Became a member. Oh, there we go. Uncle Jay, thanks for that. Becoming a casual subscriber. Oh yeah, clocks move forward today. I think is that today? Yeah, I think it is. All right, everyone. Um, I appreciate you hanging out with me tonight. I appreciate you spending this time. I hope I answered as many questions as I can. All the people that gave me super chats and all that stuff, I so much appreciate it. Like I said, especially these days on YouTube, Everybody have a great day. Be nice to it. Oh, by the way, I want to tell you, I am going to start doing this a little bit more often. The reason is I like to, and YouTube's really wanting us to do more live streams. And I also know it works good for my Facebook, so I can knock out two things at one time. So expect a lot more um, live streams coming up, okay? Probably see you next Saturday.